I'm Judy Sedgman. This is my last meeting as the president of Tiger Bay, and when we start up again in February this year, your new president will be Misty Servia. Misty, would you just, everybody knows Misty, but so Misty will be coming in as president. I'll still be coming to meetings because I love Tiger Bay. And I just want to thank everybody for the support for Tiger Bay over the 3 years that I've been president, and say that it's been a great privilege. I've enjoyed it so much. And for people that are watching this on television, thank you too, because I know we have followers that check in and watch the Tiger Bay programs when our wonderful METV crew with Charles Clapsaddle puts them up on TV always within 24 hours of our meeting. And I know we have a lot of people that are in the habit of watching it on television. So to all of you, thank you too. It's been a great pleasure being a part of your lives. So with that, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance and we'll get started. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. One more thing that I wanted to mention to you all, I wanted to thank Donna Fitzpatrick Connard, who has just been a wonderful assistant for Tiger Bay for a good part of my term, and make sure you all, yes, Donna's been great, and make sure you've all met Deanna Clavitas, who is taking that position. Donna will still be greeting at the desk, but Deanna is going to be the executive assistant working with Misty. So if you haven't met Deanna, be sure to say hi. You got really lovely people always greeting us at Tiger Bay. We're very lucky in that regard. So today's program is very uplifting. It's a little different. We often have politics and controversy at Tiger Bay, and this time we have, beautiful stories of hope and inspiration. And it's a good time of year to do this, and I'm very pleased. The idea for the program actually grew out of the fact that I recently became a member of the Service Corps of Retired Executives, otherwise known as SCORE, and I'm in training. And I sat in on a meeting with John Stewart, who's a SCORE counselor and is our guest today, and one of his clients, Christine Olson, who's one of our speakers. And I was so incredibly inspired and moved and touched by Christine's story that I thought, we really have got to find a way to get the word out of what she's doing, because it's critically important. And then we, as Misty, as the program chair, as she started to think it through, she thought, well, wait, there's a bigger context in which people turn tragedy into great opportunity and good things for other people. So the program is very heartwarming and inspiring, and I know you'll really enjoy it. And please, the information that you're getting at this program, I want you to share with your friends, because it's going to be really important to all of us that these programs get supported. So our speakers today, as you know, I don't go into a lot of detail about speakers. Our speakers are Christine Olson, who will speak to you first, and then Ashley, I'm always losing Ashley's last name, Moore. Yeah, from LifeLock, and then Sheriff Wells from Palmetto, who is going to be speaking also about LifeLock, and then we'll wind up with Eddie Mulock, who, as most people in Bradenton know, would not be here today were it not for the transplant program. So, and Eddie's story is always both inspiring and entertaining. So we're going to look forward to this, and let's start with Christine.
Well, thank you so very much. I was hoping for a little larger audience, but I'm very grateful for every single person here. And this program that I'm going to talk about affects you and your family directly. So, it's all about preparation. Are you prepared in the event of an emergency? If you were in a car accident or suffered some type of medical emergency, be it a heart attack, a stroke, reaction to medication, and you were unconscious and you could not verbally tell law enforcement who to contact, would your family know that you were hurt? Would your family know that you've been taken to a hospital? Would your family know why you are not showing up to dinner or you are not answering your cell phone? Would they know? Chances before they know that you've been hurt in an accident or suffered a medical emergency is 6 hours. Just let that sink in for a minute. 6 hours. That's almost a full day of work before you know that your husband, your wife, your child, your mother, your father, someone has been hurt and you don't even know. How do I know this? Well, this story is all revolving around my daughter, Tiffany Marie Olson, who was killed December 7th of 2005. Tiffany was in a motorcycle crash right across the bridge that's out our window. She was with her boyfriend, and on that particular evening at 7:01 p.m., a drunk driver pulled out in front of the motorcycle, and she was killed on impact. Dustin went down with the motorcycle, lived about a half hour, and passed away. Pay attention to these numbers, please. That time was 7:01 p.m. At 11 o'clock, the local newspaper had the story in print. Where was I? I was in bed. I had no clue that my daughter laid on a road dead, and here I was in bed. I had no clue. I got the first phone call from my son that said she had been involved in an accident to get to the local hospital. I ran to Manatee Memorial Hospital, praying the entire time that she was okay. Upon getting to the hospital, their simple response was, "She's not here." I said, "Well, she's got to be somewhere. She's been in an accident." I said, "Can you call another hospital?" And their response was, "Because of the HIPAA law, we don't do that." This is my 22-year-old daughter, and there was no one to help me. So after about 1:30 in the morning, Highway Patrol pulled into the parking lot. And I want you to know, my daughter's anniversary is Sunday, and my heart is breaking at this very moment, but my message is to help you guys never experience what I went through. 1:30 in the morning, Highway Patrol approaches me, and they said very casually, "Sorry, she's gone." And I thought, well, where is she? Where did she go? And they said, "Well, we presume she's with the medical examiner, but they're closed. You can call them in the morning. Here, can you sign for this?" And it was her bag of belongings from the accident. I'm sure shock took over immediately because I don't even know what my response was, but I drove home on an empty tank of gas with my daughter's belongings in my lap, wondering what just happened. I didn't even have words. Somehow in the time after that, and I don't remember how this all happened, but I came up with an idea. Because Tiffany was on the back of a motorcycle, she did not have her purse with her. She had her driver's license in her pocket. Something started gravitating toward the driver's license, and I thought in my brain, what if we put contact information in the Florida driver's license? I work at a fishing pier on Anna Maria Island, the Rod and Reel Pier. I have been there 15 years, so I have no background in government or law enforcement or much of anything. But I started a petition drive on a yellow legal pad because that's all I knew what to do. And I told people my idea, and I said, "Would you like to sign my petition?" The information got out, media got their hands on it. My next step was that I went to Representative Bill Galvano with the idea of putting it in the driver's license, and his response was, "Oh my God, this is amazing." He then took it to the state of Florida, DMV in Tallahassee, and the state of Florida pretty much sat there and said, "Why haven't we done this? We're doing this immediately." Now, when does that happen? So in our state, it took them 6 months to implement the program that we now call TIF's Initiative, giving every single Floridian, every single person in this room, the ability to put emergency contact information in your driver's license. In the event of an accident, medical emergency, law enforcement is going to show up. They're going to take your driver's license, scan it like a credit card, and the contacts that you've put in come up immediately, and they know who they're supposed to contact. But if you don't do this, the national average is 6 hours. And you have to kind of wonder. You can use me as an example. I'm single. If I was not registered and I was in an accident of some sort, law enforcement's going to go to my house and they're going to be greeted by an empty house. They might ask a neighbor, do you know Christine's family? Well, we see people come in and out, but we don't. Do you have their name? Do you have their cell number? No, we don't. There goes that little 6-hour window. That is the national average. So my goal here is to have, my thought was for everybody to put their bracelets on. You have all purple bracelets in front. Put that bracelet on, please. This has been done for a reason with you in mind. I was hoping everyone would register before you leave this building today. It will literally take you under 2 minutes. Judy said it took her 30 seconds sitting in her car, and she was registered and has tremendous peace of mind knowing that her family can be reached. I encourage everyone to do this today. It is also about spreading the word. Currently, from an idea that never existed in the entire world, which is mind-blowing that it's happening to me, we are currently well over 9 million people registered in the state of Florida alone. It grows 1 million people a year now registering. It is also not just me alone. It is the state of Florida that is very busy with this. So get on the bandwagon with us. Help me help you. I don't know who a lot of you folks are, but I'm sure you know people. You're connected through Facebook. What can you personally do to help spread the word? You have my business card in front of you. Call me. I'd love to have coffee. Think of creative ways. But the most important thing is register today. Don't let this pass by or say, I'll do it tomorrow, because you never know when you're going to need this. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, and God bless. Thank you.
Okay, Sheriff Wells, your turn.
Good afternoon. First, let me say that in my 30 years of law enforcement, Christine has been able to pull off the most significant program that I've ever seen that has been implemented by the state of Florida. And I've had the honor and the privilege of working with her for the past 7 years as we continue to try to be creative to get the word out. I remember briefly as we first started as a board working, trying to hit 1 million. Trying to reach out to 1 million Floridians, and now we're up to 9 million today, which is just absolutely incredible. Excuse me, but I want to kind of give you an understanding of how law enforcement is affected by this. You have to imagine that a serious traffic crash involving serious injury or fatalities or any type of serious crime scene is very chaotic. There's a lot that we have to do. There's a lot of evidence that has to be preserved. There are people that have to be interviewed. There are measurements and just an incredible amount of information that has to be documented while the scene is fresh. Now, in the middle of all this, we have a victim, and we have to try to locate the family. Now, at times, you may think that that's a simple issue, that we can just look at the driver's license or we can look at our computer, we can get some information. But as Christine has already mentioned, people are not always good about changing their address on their driver's license. Even if you do have a family and you live together in one household, if you don't change your address, we're going to go to whatever address is listed on that driver's license. So once again, we're against time. Time is of the essence. So now we're trying to find any information we can about you. Well, that's not always easy for the common man or woman who has lived a clean life doesn't have any record, doesn't have a lot on there. I mean, it's one thing if I'm dealing with someone that's been in the Department of Corrections for 20 years. But as I'm trying to find information about, just regular people like you and I, there's nothing in the database. There's nothing that I can look for to give me an address or give me information or try to locate family members. Do we have those programs available? Yes. But it's always entails or involves people that have some type of a record or issue in the past. So it's very difficult. So because of Christine and what she's been able to accomplish, the officers can now go right to their laptop. They can pull up your David photo with all your driver's license information, and on the bottom of that screen is going to be your emergency contact information. All right, so now I can take that information, I can get my victim advocate to the family as soon as we possibly can. And that is why this is so important. If you've ever been through a traumatic experience like this, and I have, and families want to be there. They want to be with that loved one. They want to be at the scene. And even though we try to discourage that, I will never tell a mother or a loved one, you can't be there. I'm going to get her there. I'm going to get the father there. And we're going to, because they want, even if they can't see their loved one, even if they can't touch them, they want them to know, I am here. I am here. And I'm going to be with you until the end. That's important for families. That's why it's important for us to get to them quickly so they can have that closure. They can have that time. There are times in the hospital where, look, it's evident that someone's going to pass, but they're on life support, and the family can get there, and they can talk to them while they are still, alive, and there's a special connection there at that time that families have to be a part of. That's why this is so important. It took us at times longer than 6 hours. If you have someone that's out of a different county in the state of Florida, we don't make phone calls to any family on a next of kin notification about a death of a loved one. We don't do that. We have to send somebody there in person. So imagine if you're from another county and I'm trying to get officers to an address in Hillsborough or Sumter or Hernando, and I'm trying to get someone there, and that address doesn't pan out. Now I've got two agencies looking for family. Becomes extremely frustrating. So she has helped us. She has helped families be able to spend time with a loved one during a tragic situation, and she has given us the tools that we need to effectively do that. I would tell you today, do not be selfish. Do not be selfish. This is not about you. It's not about me. It's about our families. It's about our families being able to be with us if that time ever comes. So I would ask you to take the time today to please fill out the information, have your emergency contact info readily accessible to us if ever needed. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having us. God bless.
Okay, Ashley Moore.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having me today. My name is Ashley Moore, and I work with the LifeLink Foundation, and we are a nonprofit organ recovery organization, and we work with donor families. We work with education in the community because there's a lot of misinformation about organ and tissue donation. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about exactly how that process works with us, how you can sign up if you want to become a donor, and of course answer any questions you guys may have about the process. First and foremost, we're here to educate. We work with lots of different organizations, community members to get the message out about donation. LifeLink covers about 15 counties on the west coast of Florida, so we're responsible for any donors that come up in those areas. We work with high schools, colleges, faith groups, workplace partnerships, tax and DMV offices, which is where many of our registrations for people to sign up to become a donor come from. And we also do a lot of health fairs and different community presentations just like this. So LifeLink is responsible for our donors. We work intensively with our donor families when this does come up. And I'm going to go briefly over the process about how that happens. So when someone does have the potential to become an organ donor, that's when LifeLink gets involved. It's after someone has passed away. We are notified by the hospital. We come in and assess that case to see if that person is a candidate for donation. The next thing that we do is we contact Donate Life Florida, which is the state organ and tissue donor registry, to see if that person has already made that life-saving decision to become an organ donor. We take that information and we talk to the family. And if they haven't made that decision, we still talk to the family and give them the opportunity to consent to donation for their loved one. Once that process has been done, consent has been given, then we move forward to the next step, which is basically testing the organs to see what's going to be viable for transplant. We work with our immunology lab at LifeLink to determine if there's any issues or diseases, anything we need to be aware of. We work with the family to get a social history, a medical history on that person to see if there's anything we should be checking into further. At that point, we then work with the United Network for Organ Sharing. Anybody who's on the wait list for an organ transplant is on that list, and it is national. We put information about that donor into the system to find the perfect match. And many times we look at different things, the size of the organ, your blood type, any antibodies you may have against that organ, because rejection is an issue in many of our transplant patients. So we're working to make sure that we find that perfect match. In most cases, that match starts out locally, and when I say local, it's the 15 counties that we cover first, we look to, and then it goes regionally if we can't find that perfect match, and that's kind of the southeastern region. And then, of course, if we can't find that, we look to a national map to see where we can get that organ to somebody who is in desperate need. So currently in the United States today, we have about 123,000 people currently waiting for an organ transplant. Many of those people will wait years before they do get transplanted. In some cases, people don't make it. The statistic right now is about 18 people pass away every day in the United States because we really don't have enough organs to go around. About 5,000 people on that wait list are currently in Florida. So what can you donate? A lot of people that may have registered might not know, but you actually have 8 different organs you could potentially donate. You have 2 lungs, 2 kidneys, a liver, a heart, a pancreas, and a small intestine, and all of those things could potentially help 8 different people. Now with tissue donation, we say you can enhance up to 60 lives. Tissue is a broad term. There's many things you can donate with tissue. You have your corneas, which could help someone see. It's not your whole eye, it's just the outer layer. It's actually thinner than a piece of paper and clear like a contact lens. There's also skin, which can be used for burn victims, bone, for anybody who's had any major seriously bone malformations or something like that. You can actually use donor bone to put in, and your bone will grow around it and in it to make it strong. There's also heart valves, veins, tendons for different types of repairs. Lots of different things can be utilized with tissue to help someone live and have a better quality of life. Now, for the Donate Life Florida State Registry, a lot of you may have already registered. A lot of people do it when you go to get your driver's license at the tax or the DMV office. Many of you, when you say yes to donation, they're required to ask you that question each time. If you say yes, they put a little stamp that says organ donor right underneath your name. What many people don't realize, though, is that information, we don't look to your driver's license when we're checking to see if you registered to become a donor. What happens is that information gets uploaded to the state registry, which is at Donate Life Florida. That's where we're looking, that's where we're checking to make sure that you have made that decision. But most people do register that way. But if you missed the boat on that, or maybe you said no and you didn't get that opportunity, we do promote donatelifeflorida.org, which is a website you can sign up anytime, 24/7. It has a ton of FAQs and questions and answers on there that if you have any issues, you can sign up there. It takes about a minute to do. And if you're not internet savvy, we do have paper formats that LifeLink provides at all of our events, or you can call and we can send them to you if you'd prefer to fill it out manually and mail it into the registry. And I wanted to just cover briefly a couple of myths that we often hear, or people misconstrue us with blood donation and think that it's the same thing, and it's really not. There's very few limitations to organ and tissue donation. The rule outs really are to the point where if you want to sign up, you should. You shouldn't worry about any health conditions or anything that you think might hold you back, because ultimately, none of us know how we're going to be when we pass. And if you want to do it, you should do it. At the end of the day, a transplant surgeon is going to make that decision whether your organs are viable for transplant or not. Now, another thing I hear a lot from different age groups, specifically with our retirees and our seniors, a lot of people think that they're too old to donate. There's really no age limit to donation. Young people donate, old people donate. One of the oldest donors on record was 93, and he was able to donate his liver. So it's really amazing what can potentially be done after you've gone. In addition to that, a lot of younger people often tell me, well, if I put it on my driver's license that I'm an organ donor, the doctors or the paramedics aren't going to work as hard to save my life. I hear that a lot. And unfortunately, that's not how the process works. You know, paramedics are there to get you stable, get you to a hospital. The doctors are there to treat you. That's what they get paid to do. Donation only comes into play after you've passed away. LifeLink is a separate organization from the hospital. Your doctors don't have access to the donor registry. They can't even tell if you're a donor or not, so no one should be concerned about it when signing up. So I really do hope that everybody considers today to think about becoming a donor if you haven't, or if you're not sure, you can check on donatelifeflorida.org and see if you are, or sign up today. Thank you so much for giving me the time.
Okay, Eddie, bring it home.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you for your organization. When they sent out the information about the day's meeting, they said I had a heart transplant. Well, actually, I have 3 of those organs that she mentioned. In fact, I learned a few weeks back from Shands Hospital, I'm the only person in the world that has a heart, liver, and kidney transplant. And I was the first person at Shands to have a double transplant, the liver and kidney, the liver and kidney after my heart transplant. And they said that I had about a 2% chance of survival, because they'd never done it before, but we went through with it anyway. So how did I get here? Well, first of all, I want to echo, get signed up for organ donation. We need you. The Key Club at Manatee High School, when I first got out of the hospital, wanted to put on a campaign, so I did a video for them, and they worked on that. They signed up over 20,000 people, donors in Manatee County, and I was happy that I was able to help with that. But what happened to me was I went with my boys fishing, fly fishing to Idaho, and we were drinking water from the stream, and unfortunately I picked up a virus. Nobody else did, and it attacked my heart muscle, and they thought I had another condition, but it turned out to be a problem with my heart from the virus. And so when I came back, I was here for a while, and I had a complete cardiac arrest. And I was at my mother's house, and they came and got me, took me to Blake Hospital emergency room. This is not a reflection on Blake, so please don't take it that way. I've been backing in and out of Blake before. But the emergency room physicians gave up on me. They told my children that I was gone. There was nothing more they could do. My cardiologist then was Mike Day. Probably many of you know Mike. Oh, yeah. And he just happened to be in the hospital that night. You're going to see from me I have a great faith. And I say he happened to be there. I believe somebody put him there. Anyway, he heard that I was having problems in the emergency. He came down, and all I remember was when he got in the room, he kicked everybody out. And then I can remember the procedures going on. I can remember hearing Mike saying, dopamine, dopamine, more dopamine, more dopamine. And then all of a sudden, I felt like I was way up in the air. I can still see it. And there was this huge light shining down on me. And that's the last thing I remembered till I was out in the hall on a gurney. Then I was on a respirator for 4 weeks. That was a very uncomfortable situation. And so then I rocked along with that. And then for a while I had a defibrillator. And it saved my life about 15 times. It's a shocker if you don't know what it is. And they put it right here. That's my excuse for my stomach. See, it's really not, it used to be. Anyway, the defibrillator would shock and put my heart back in rhythm, and it went off about 15 times and saved my life. So then eventually, doctors said, well, we need to send you to be evaluated for a heart transplant. Well, I believe that I can control anything with my mind as far as my body is concerned. I said, I'll be all right. I'm going to take more vitamins and more supplements. Well, anyway, it came to the point where I would go to, so I went up to Tampa hospital, and they gave me a defibrillator to save my life when my heart would get out of rhythm. So I went through that, and then afterwards I got where I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk from here to that table. I couldn't go up the stairs. I couldn't do anything. And so then they sent me to Shands for evaluation. And this is another intervention story. And so I was supposed to be there 5 days. And after 4 days, the doctor came in and he says, Eddie, he said, I hate to tell you, but we can't keep you alive for more than a day. So you're going to have to consent to go on the heart-lung machine, which is a really nasty thing to undergo. So he said, but we're going to try 2 things. He says, we're going to give you some medication to see if we can improve your breathing, which you see advertised on TV every day. And he says, we're going to pray. Now, no offense to Dr. Connor, but when the doctor says they're going to pray, you know you're in a deep hole. And so my kids were there, and they all prayed for me. The Presbyterian church downtown was praying for me. The Baptists were praying for me. The Jewish synagogue was praying for me. All of the churches in Palmetto, over there, were praying for me. The Catholics were praying for me. I had everybody working for me really hard, I remember Marge Canan, she had a circle in her church, and they were all meeting every day and praying for me. So when people ask for prayer, give it, because I happen to believe that it works, okay? So the next day, the doctor came into my room, and he says, Eddie, he says, I really don't know what happened, but overnight, your system turned around. They'd give me some medicine too, but we had prayed. And so he said, your system turned around completely. He says, so number one, we can put you on the transplant list because, they wouldn't put me on the list because my pulmonary system was down. So he said, we can put you on the list. And he says, and you won't have to go on the heart-lung machine. We're going, wow. And so within 2 hours, this will shock you. Within 2 hours, I got a call from the procurement person at Shands. And he says, Eddie, he said, we have a heart for you. I'm going, holy cow. So I got a heart. And to make it really a better story and a really exciting story is that the heart fit me size, tissue, blood, everything. Wow. And the best news is it was young. Okay? It was 20 years old, so I have a 20-year-old, and it was female. Okay, so I have a 20-year-old female heart, and I have a 50-year-old female liver and kidney, so I'm 1/3 female. Now, what does that mean? That means I'm not afraid to stop and ask for directions. And I find myself putting the toilet seat down all the time, which is a real problem when you're still male. Okay. But I have to, excuse me, ladies, but once a month I'm pretty difficult. So just remember that, okay? So fortunately, I went through the procedure. Of course, I was in the hospital 5.5 weeks. And so I came back to Bradenton, and while I was in the hospital, I kept thinking to myself, I saw a lot of kids. I was in University of Colorado Hospital. I was in the National Institutes of Health. They studied me. I was in Tampa. I was, of course, over here in the hospital a lot. And I saw all these kids that were sick. So while I was there, I decided that when I got back to Bradenton, what I was going to do was try to build a camp for children that are terminally ill and handicapped. So I established the Foundation for Dreams, which we have put on a camp now for 15 years out at Camp Flying Eagle. And we've had thousands of children go through this camp just from my idea when I came back to do something, to give back what had happened to me. But after my heart transplant, I'm rocking along. All of a sudden, the doctor said, we have a problem. Your liver is failing. I go, oh, my goodness. So they said, you got to have a liver transplant. I said, no, not going through it again. They said, you have to. So sure enough, so then they decided to give me a kidney at the same time. Because of the medications, lots of times heart transplant patients and transplant patients have damage to their kidneys. So they said, well, we got you there, we're going to give you a new one. But the chances and the odds of me getting a heart and a liver that matched each other, that matched me, were astronomical. But guess what? I got it. They called me one morning at about 5:30 in the morning and said, can you be in Gainesville at 8:30 this morning? So we take off, we go to Gainesville, I get there. They take you in the emergency room, and then they have to put you through the shower with all kind of, and give you a shower of antibacterial stuff. So then I go upstairs for to get ready. So I'm in my room, and wasn't too long, this guy comes down the hall. He said, are you Mr. Mulock? I said, yes, sir. He said, you ready to go? I said, let's go. So we went down there, and I got moved to what I call the pole position. There were people waiting for surgery, but I got moved to the first row. That's because the organs had arrived, you see, and they needed to go. I needed to go. So the anesthesiologists were really neat guys, young guys. They came in, they said, Mr. Mulock, I understand you're upset. I always wore my gator socks through surgeries. And they said, you can't wear those today. I said, oh, no, that's bad news. And he said, but don't you worry. He said, you're in good hand. We got some special anesthesia for you. I said, what is that? So he pulled out 2 vials from his pocket. One was blue and one was orange. So then my number's up. So they reel me in, and all my family standing there, and I'm thinking, well, is this goodbye? Well, I don't believe it's goodbye, see, but that's how I think. You have to understand that one thing I have to pass on is that to me, your mind is so important as far as your health is concerned, and I feel that it's helped me a lot to get through a lot of tough times, because the liver and kidney transplant was probably a harder thing to go through than the heart transplant. But so I think that it's important for me to pass on, number one, of course, sign up, because it works, and I'm an example of it. And when I go to Shands, I always go upstairs and visit all of the people waiting and all the people that just got heart transplant. I was just up there, and there was this girl from Lakeland, and she had just gotten a heart transplant. And so my coordinator said, yeah, and Mr. Mulock has also liver and kidney transplant. Her eyes got about this big. And so I try to encourage them when I go up there. And that's important, to give back of what I've been given, including the camp. And so I've been lucky and blessed. And everybody say, you're lucky. I always say, no, I'm blessed. And I am blessed. And so I'm trying to pass on that blessing to kids. And I've had thousands of kids now in the camp. And I'd like to someday to come back and tell you about the camp, because it's a big thing here in Manatee County that a lot of people don't know about. I had a lady came out one day, she said, Mr. Mulock, this is a hidden secret in Manatee County. I said, yeah, but I don't want that. I want everybody to know what we're doing out here. We got some beautiful kids that for the first time in their life, we take them from wheelchairs and put them in the swimming pool and teach them to scuba dive and things like this, and it's quite a thrill. And Kristen, if you want to know about the law and you want to become a lawyer, all you have to do is get a yellow pad and make 5 laps around the courthouse. So the second message I would give is, look, even if you don't get a second chance, give back. We got to give back. But when you get a second chance, you got to take advantage of it, not just for yourself, but for other people. So that's what I still try to do. I help a lot of people. I do a lot of pro bono work. I try to help people that have issues, but we all have to do that very much. It's very important for us to give back. And this community has always been very famous for that. And so as a result of all of this, I've been able to be the radio announcer for the Manatee, the super team, in my opinion, Manatee Hurricanes this year, for going on 30 years now. So we're going to pray for them for Friday night. So I'm a blessed guy, and I'm trying to pass on, and I hope you'll do the same thing. And the final thing I'd say is, don't be afraid to dream, because my foundation, called the Foundation for Dreams, was my dream. So if you dream, these things can happen. And so that makes life exciting, and we can create a lot of things like Kristen, and that's what we have to do. So thank you all so very much.
Okay. As you all know, at this point in the program, we're open for questions. Please go to the microphone if you want to ask a question. And then I'm going to throw one question I have in for Ashley. She can answer it whenever it's appropriate. It doesn't matter. But I live in a over 55 condo area, and and I've talked to a lot of people that I run into walking my dog and stuff about, are you an organ donor? And now since I've met Christine, I've been telling them to please register for this, because a lot of them, their families live pretty far away. But there's another myth that you didn't touch on, which is that if you want to have a beautiful funeral, you shouldn't be an organ donor because your body will be mutilated and it won't be able to be shown. I just wondered if you could address that, or how you answer that when people bring that up. Yeah. This is kind of the musical chair part of the program.
That's a great question, and there's a lot of myths out there. I tried to cover the major ones, but that is another one that does come up a lot, and a lot of people have that, I don't want to be cut on, or, I don't want my loved one, touched in any way. And the reality is, with organ and tissue donation, unless you actually told somebody that, oh, my loved one donated, you actually can still have an open casket funeral. It's just like a regular surgery is. Anything that's taken out, prosthetics are put back in. You're sewn up just like you would be in any other type of surgery. So nothing's taken that would be visible in an open casket funeral. The donor is treated with the utmost respect, and obviously, we're going to make that work for the family the best that we can. But it's one of those things, I think a lot of people, do have that in their minds, that it's something that it's not. So.
Thank you. That's I'm glad to have that answered. Misty.
Thank you. My name is Misty Servia, and I'm a member of Tiger Bay. And I have 2 questions, and my first one is for Christine. Christine, can you tell us if any organ or tissue donation happened when Tiffany passed away? And then my second question is for Chief Wells. And when hearing Christine's story and learning about the cold interaction between the Florida Highway Patrol and Christine, I'm sure that would never happen in the city of Palmetto. But can you talk a little bit about the training that officers receive in that type of situation?
Certainly.
All right. Well, thank you so much for bringing that up, because even at her young age of 22, she was an amazing girl, and she had such a heart for people. She was a very avid blood donor and always encouraged me to donate blood. She said, this is important. But I didn't find out until she passed that she was also an organ donor. And that was an extremely hard call to get when you're grieving someone, your child. And they're very precise on what the questions they're trying to ask you, very gently as possible. But because Tiffany was killed on impact, her major organs couldn't be used. But they did take her corneas. Tiffany had beautiful brown eyes, beautiful. And my understanding is that her eyes went to a 10-year-old Florida girl, which I always joke in my sick little way, I guess that is, I don't know, but I work at the Rod and Reel, and I always think one day there's going to be someone come in and they're going to wink, and they're going to think, it's me, Mom. But they took her eyes, they took her bones, the long bones from the hips down for people that are crushed, and they took skin. And I was told that 7 people have been blessed by her passing, and so that was absolutely amazing. It's really, I can't even believe that, how people can experience such a great gift. And even like you say, the heart and all that. I recently seen something on NBC World News where there was a grandfather of 4 that received a heart. And what they did, they brought the family of the young boy in that was the heart donor. And they got a chance to listen to the beating heart in this grandfather of 4. And it was hard to listen to, but what a joy. And I think it comes a lot to do with faith. I know where my daughter is, and it says right in the Bible, there will be a reunion one day, and I know I'm going to see her. But to know that she has blessed so many lives, and as well as with Tiff's initiative, is a great gift, very, very great gift.
I don't like to be critical of other agencies, but I've worked with FHP for 21 years, so I understand the policies in place when it comes to next of kin notification. Most agencies today have a special trained victim advocate unit. I have one, Bradenton has several, and the sheriff's office has a fine victim advocate unit of about 8 people. They're trained to deal with these situations and to console the family, but they're not only at the time of the event, but they're there days after to help the family through that really horrific time. FHP has always left it up to the officer or the trooper working the crash or working with that squad to go out and make the next of kin notification. that takes a special person to do that. They have the training, they understand how they're supposed to be and act sensitive. But bottom line is, some cops just not even on their best day are they sensitive. They just don't act. They're good people. It's hard for them because in a cop's mind, he's working the case. He's working the case. This is one element of the case. So sometimes they don't think about the effect they're having on the family. That's why we have victim advocates that go out and especially train. FHP is still kind of behind the times with that. And they have a couple of them throughout the state, but they don't have one in every district, in every county. So I'm hoping eventually they'll start to work on that and make sure, but that is the problem. So that trooper probably did not even know that he had been cold toward you during that time. But I have seen it. My role when I was with FHP was to spend as much time as I could there with the family and to have someone be there with them when I left. I wasn't concerned about getting out of there. I was concerned about making sure they had the information they needed and making sure that they had someone with them before I left. I never wanted to leave them by themselves. Unfortunately, we don't always have that, but hopefully they'll get some better training.
Thank you. Ben?
Good afternoon. Thank you again all for speaking. This is a tremendously informative presentation. I think my question is for Ashley, and while we're sitting here listening, I think this is probably just due to my own ignorance, but maybe to clarify for others who might be thinking the same way I do. For some reason, when you think about organ donation, you always think organ donations are for accident victims or sudden passing of people. Is organ donation set up just as effective and useful for the elderly person who's lived a long and full life and passes away peacefully, either in their home or what have you, but when it's their time to pass, they can be an organ donor. Is that just as easy to set up, and is that also how it's done?
That's a really good question.
It is a really great question. I think most people do associate, I've been in an accident. They think, donation goes along with that. Really, for organ and tissue donation, it's quite different. Organ donation is more immediate. It's a very special way you have to pass away in order to become an organ donor, and most of us will not pass away this way. Now, it can be any kind of head trauma. A lot of times that is a car accident or a fall. It could be an aneurysm, it could be a stroke, it could be a drowning, it could be an overdose. There's a lot of things that can happen that can cut off the oxygen to your brain. And normally when that happens, you're rushed to a hospital. Doctors do their best to get the swelling to go down. You're put on a ventilator because you can't breathe on your own at that point. If you pass away while you're on that ventilator, you have to be in a hospital on a ventilator and you have to pass away on that ventilator. That's when organ donation is a possibility, because that ventilator is pumping oxygen into that body to keep the organs viable. So you have a special window of time really to do the recovery at that point and get that done. Now, tissue donation is a little bit different. You don't have to have that oxygen to the blood flow because it's just tissue, but there's a special window for that. As long as somebody is put into, some type of refrigeration, a morgue within the first 12 hours, we have 24 hours to recover tissue. And tissue is recovered at our tissue bank. We actually will take that person to the tissue bank, do the recovery there, and then take that person to whatever end-of-life decisions the family had planned for them. So that's something that most people don't really understand and don't really know about organ and tissue donation, that it's a little bit different, but it is very time-sensitive and it is very unique, often unexpected tragic situations that's going to happen in an organ donation case.
Wow, I never knew that. Kay, a new person for Tiger Bay.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say I thought this program was so appropriate for this time of year, and the stories you're sharing and the thankfulness that we all share from this. I have two questions for Christine. If somebody has gone through cancer and had chemo and radiation, are they able to donate? And what if somebody has decided they wanted to be cremated? How does that happen?
Someone on the spot.
So those are really great. I talked about, the rule outs for a donation. We don't have very many. Active cancer in certain parts of the body is a rule out because it would not be safe to transplant that. But if somebody has been through treatment, they're in remission, you can still donate. And then your other question was cremation. So when someone passes away and they pass away on a ventilator or, they become a tissue donor, this all happens very quickly. Within the next 12 to 24 hours, things are taking place. That would all be done prior to cremation happening. But basically, any plan that you have, whether you are going to do an open casket or you're going to be buried, cremation, any of that, all happens after donation. So this all happens super fast and you don't have to worry. Anything that the family has planned, LifeLink makes sure that we take care of it, and it happens so quickly that there's never a delay in any funeral plans that you may have for your loved one.
Thank you. Okay, hi.
Hi, my name's Andre Torkelson, and I'm a Tiger Bay member. I had a question for Christine. I was wondering, you mentioned, spreading word and getting as many people as you can to sign up, and I think it's a great idea, and I'll do it today. But I was wondering if there's anything we as the public can do to help spread that message for you beyond, I don't know if you have a Facebook, social media, or, if there's a way to kind of mass, put that out there.
Yeah, and while you're answering that, talk more about what they can do with their bracelets, because they could pick up some extras too. Yeah.
Well, Facebook is the way to do it. We do have a Facebook site, To Inform Families First. You can like us there. You can post it on take the link, post it on your site. Encourage everyone. This is, if you think of it as a movement, it started with me. It started with me asking questions. A yellow legal pad. I didn't even know how to make a petition. I just said, here's a question. It started with one person. So you got to get creative. You got to get people involved with you. This affects every single Florida resident and beyond. So social media is huge. If you have a company, you have coworkers, you have family, get them involved. Make sure every single person, especially during Christmas, when a family comes over, everybody sit down at the computer, let's get registered together, because you want to make sure that you know if someone is involved in a critical situation. So that's huge. I'm always looking for help. Anybody in marketing, anybody that knows how to write stories, get them out to the national news stations, radio stations. Help me. Say, have coffee with me. Say, let's scramble some ideas. Do you love being on a computer? There are so many newspapers and magazines. There's tons of ways to get that story out. Help me. Just, come alongside. My card is on the table. Just give me a call. Let's get together and let's get this out there. Okay? Thank you. All right.
I just need to add, so when I met Christine, she gave me the purple bracelet, and within a few minutes, I sat in my car and I did my thing, and she said, after you have entered your information, you pass the bracelet on to someone else. It happened to be, I met her the day that I was on my way to a conference where there were several thousand people. And I only had the one bracelet, but it was very interesting because I did pass it on to someone, that random person, who then later in that day, I saw somebody else with the bracelet. And over the course of the 2.5 days I was involved in this conference, I saw that bracelet on, I can't tell you how many different people. So it's a very simple thing. And I thought, gee, if I'd had 100 bracelets, this could have been wonderful, but I didn't. So that's the idea of your purple bracelet. And if you have extras at your table, take them and pass them on to people, because that's a really good reminder. Oh, I signed up and here's something easy you can do.
That is a great idea. And again, I'm Misty Servia, and I have another question, and maybe it's for Eddie or Ashley. But my question is, since you can become an organ donor and sign up with your driver's license, what happens to the minors, the children 16 to 18 who can have licenses? Are they able to make that decision to be an organ donor?
That's a really good question, because we do often, work with minors. We say that legally at the age of 13, you can sign up to become an organ donor. And we all know that, even under 18 really can be, but you're allowed to sign up at 13. If you are under the age of 18, and you've signed up, it still is going to be the parent's decision if they want to donate. But once that person does become 18, it becomes a legally binding decision that they have made, and the recovery organization can go forward with donation. In many cases, one of the things we do encourage people is to tell your family, that you have made this decision, because a lot of people don't know until we tell them sometimes. And that can be very difficult. You can imagine that type of situation. Really, at the worst point you can imagine, we're talking to these families that they're dealing with a massive amount of grief, an unexpected situation. So we encourage everybody to, let your loved ones know. And many times, even if that's not something someone wants for themselves, they will respect what someone has asked as their final wishes. So that's a great question.
Okay, Rusty.
I'm Rusty Russell. I'm a member. And my comment is more of a comment rather than a question. We were talking about donations. Our 62-year-old son died of Alzheimer's, and I had made arrangements with the hospital in Jacksonville, Mayo Clinic. They have a brain research section there. And we donated, or I should say that Rob donated his brain after being comatose for over a year. And they were very thankful, and they sent me a 3-page complete resume of what they found out. And we're going to use it to help study to stop other people having the same problem.
Right. Yeah, that's the same kind of thing football players are doing now, that when they have serious concussions.
We can't leave Eddie out. Marla
No.
Huff, and I'm a Tiger Bay member. I'm never going fishing in Idaho now. And I have one easy question for you. Is Jeb your son?
Yes.
Okay. Everyone here said, I think, I don't know, but
Yeah.
everybody, Jeb is his son. Thank you.
He said he usually asks if I'm his dad. I don't ask, is he my son?
That's a turning point in all of our lives as we get older. For a long time, our kids were our children. Now we're their parents as they take their place in life. So I get a big kick out of that when I visit my daughter. Her friends have no idea who I am, except I'm Sarah's mom. So, well, anyway, this is it. This is the last of the questions. It's time for us to all say farewell. I want to wish you all a beautiful, wonderful holiday season. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you benefited and enjoyed from this program. And thank you again for the opportunity to serve Tiger Bay. It's been a great privilege, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes next. And we'll see you all in February. So take care.
Thank you.